Screening, tapi masih ada screen. Interesting. 14 minutes to be starting. Checking mic. I don't think I am connected to that mic. Yes. Okay. Testing volume. Live wire. Oh yeah, it was posted. Ten. Okay, cool. Checking my delay. Testing 11 minutes. 20 seconds delay. Okay. Berapa nih? Oh, tengah. Okay, sure. Ada. Okay. So, clear lah suara? Okay, cool. minutes left. Eight more minutes. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. Pues, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10. Kedengaran tapi soft. Let me adjust the mic sekejap and the mic punya. Ya, the mic punya volume kenapa sih kereta? Let me go check the properties. Okay, advanced properties. Mic volume percent. Aku naikkan sikit just in case. Or do I need just to increase my volume saja? Macam, I mean the volume of my voice saja. Not necessarily the volume rahda tu. I fixed already. Is my voice? Maybe my voice saja. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's my voice yang lambut. 5 more minutes. Wait, I am wearing my headphones with mic. Jap, let me check the settings. Double check the settings. 3 minutes beginning to starting. Hmm. Interesting. Let me adjust my mic. Hampirkan lagi ke bibir. Double check on volume. Is your volume okay? Okay. Uh, yes. Yeah, I'm using. Ito ko Eran when you mention. Or is it Japan? Is it the volume here? No, sorry, the maximum sudah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's connected. Dun dun dun. Why? Gila. Ano pa yung power ko? Biasa. Na may laptop punya power. Ah, okay, 2 minutes and a half. Oh, interesting. Was that a drop frame? Mr. Statistics ini. Yes. Yeah, it's minimum. So I don't know how else would I um yeah, I'm talking. So I don't know. Boleh lang kali lagi ada salah. The advanced one. I can make it so that my volume is bigger than what it should be. I don't know, try 50%. Terus mengajut. Dun dun dun, testing. Why? Interesting. Hmm. It's two within 1 minute, but we'll see juga if we need to fix anything lagi. Ah, say something. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry I couldn't get to you. Something, something, I would have followed you. Oh, say something, I'm giving up on you. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to the YouTube live. Oh, yeah. Okay lah, we'll carry on sekali ya. Okay, so let's just carry on. Okay. Where's my slideshow? Okay, my slideshow's on. Okay, checking. Oh, check na ba yung orang? Okay lah. So, okay, we just continue just for the sake of the recording. Eh, why is that? Okay lah. Okay, so I think we'll just carry on. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, welcome to LiveWIRE YouTube Live. Welcome to episode 9. The topic is organization plan and managing teams. So Salah. Okay, so episode 9, organization plan and managing teams. General content, introduction to I didn't update this one. To the series and streamer, the main contents, level programs and activities, upcoming content, and Q&A. So, introduction to the stream. If this is your first time, in general, it's a series of entrepreneurship topics that we will share. And then the snippets of it will be used for video content for online referrals. The topic shared in general is a summary of some of our workshop contents. We will also share which workshop you can join if you want the full workshop, because in general this is just the sharing part, the one almost one way part. But even in this case, we'll have some discussion and Q&A between the main topics. As you can note, there's the chat, so you can ask any questions there. And again, if you're looking at on the phone or on computer, you can actually share the live link with your friends. So these are the contents that we've been talking about since early in the beginning. We did miss 1 month in August, but we'll just carry on with what we have. Right now we're on episode 9, and next month we'll be looking into finances. Okay, so introduction to myself. My full name is Muhammad Failah Tudimin Haji Hassan, alias Muhammad Hasbullah Bobby. Most people just call me Bobby. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done a few businesses myself. I'm also an endurance athlete. I am interested in business, IT, and sciences, and am an educator. So the topic, in relation to the topic of operations and human resources, in my businesses, I have had the experience and the opportunity to manage other people under me, and even when I'm working for LiveWIRE, I learn to manage other people as well. So the topics, the main topic is organization plan and managing teams, and the main content is organization plan. This is generally from the business plan series. Hiring process, so sharing the real life processes of hiring people. Just a bit, not too much. For that, or if you want more details, you can probably Google more. I'll just be sharing the practical aspects that is specific for Brunei. And then leadership and empowering your team. This is a bit from our leadership camp, but mostly from our managing your team's masterclass. Then, of course, later I'll share with you resources that we have on any of these topics. So, organization plan. So again, this is mostly from our business plans, but you can use it in your standard operating procedures, your general organization and operations. So the whole point of the organization strategy is to identify who's working with you, who you need in order to succeed in the business. In general, what are the qualifications that your personnel have, and the budget considerations, especially when you're compensating your employees. So in general, in the organization strategy content, you want to look into organization chart as in the example on the right, and then roles and responsibilities, generally who they are, what they do, and how are they qualified to work with your business. Management gaps, in general, discussions and conclusion on who you have and who do you need in order to complete your management, your organization. And in the plan, usually you have to consider the costs, whether it's monthly or annual. And usually in the SOP or in tender proposals or in management plans, you might include the CV or the biodata of those individuals in the appendix. So, starting off with the organization chart. So the names can be made up, but you might notice a few of the names are familiar. So in this example, we're using managing director, but it could be president, it could be captain, it could be any other boss names. And in general, on the left side, you can see there's the assistant director or assistant boss or assistant manager, or whatever positions. And for every department in your business, again, this is highly dependent on your operations. What do you need to do in the business? So There's administration and finance. Sometimes it's two separate departments. Then operations, the department that's doing most of the logistics, the operations day to day. Marketing and advertising. Sometimes sales is included, and sometimes these are all separate departments. And of course, research and development. This is interesting. Is something that some organizations or some businesses may lack. Uh, in Brunei, I've noticed some companies have the positions named business development officer. So they're in charge in looking into business opportunities. So those are technically R&D or research and development. So in terms of like a simple business, again, the names can be made up. Depends on what you want on your business card. If you want a business card, that is. For a simple food stall business, you have the owner slash manager, and then you have the cooks, and you have the grill. So again, depends on your business. So you don't actually have to have a full-blown organization chart. Even for a simple business, sometimes there's just one person, but that one person might actually have several responsibilities. So it's highly recommended, even with a small business, you should have an organization chart, especially if you're going to plan to expand your business and then you're looking for someone else to replace or to fulfill that part in that business. So and next is the roles and responsibilities. So you might have seen this table when you're looking at a vacancy. So in general, on the left, you see the roles. Again, similarly, the roles that we discussed earlier. And then you need to highlight, list down, describe the responsibilities of those people. So again, this is useful if you're going to advertise those roles. So you need to share what are the responsibilities. So when people apply for the job, that they are not surprised that they have to do so and so. So um, another word for it is a job description or JD. So identify what they need to do in the organization. Next, third column, we have the qualifications and certifications. So in general, qualifications is general. Certification is if you have a certificate or a piece of paper saying that you're certified in doing something. So it depends on the organization. Sometimes it's or what's highlighted or what they feel is important is the certification. So like O level, A level, diploma, degree, and so on. But in some cases, some companies might prefer to see work experience. Because sometimes if you just graduated, you don't have the real life skills of working in that business or in that operations. So they have to train you from scratch, and it would really save them a lot of money if you already have the skills. Save money and time. And then on the far right corner is the salary that you're offering. So sometimes some advertisings do not show the salary, and usually they'll just say um, negotiable. But in general, you should budget for the salary, obviously. So it's highly recommended that you show the salary that you're offering in your advertising. So at least that disqualifies people who don't want that job for that salary. So but some people I think might wanna take a chance on that. So at least maybe they can hire someone with less salary than they would have paid for. So there's a lot of pros and cons around here. So again, this is the main structure. But for the example that we did was for the food stall. So it's a simple food stall. You don't have to be highly educated. You can just be O level. Although some people might want to prefer someone in diploma in business or something. But usually most food stalls are their own owners, their own managers. So regardless of the qualifications. And then the cook and the grill. So each one has their own distinct roles and responsibilities, and for each their own salary scale. And now, a note for sole proprietors or self-employed. They usually have they don't put a salary for themselves. It's highly recommended that you put a salary for yourself, so to separate yourself, the individual, from the company, and also will decrease the risk of you taking out the company's money. So you need to separate the company's money and the employee money. Even though you are the owner, but you should consider yourself as the employee as well. If not that, then some people might want to take out from profits of the business, but you need to make sure the calculation is proper and you don't over withdraw from the company's money. So you have to identify the profit and loss and then profit sharing from that. So it's a bit tricky if you're gonna have to take from profit sharing, but that's what some people do. Okay, so this is an example of a simple calculation for the payroll. So you have the organization chart for different positions. You have different salaries. So a simple total up, multiplied by 12. And don't forget, in Brunei, we have TAP and SAP. I think it's being replaced with scheme, not scheme kebajikan, scheme pension kebangsaan, SPK, I think. So that's going to be different, but the rate I think is still the same. So again, for local employees, you need to pay for that up. So some people might confuse this as well, especially if you haven't worked for someone before, or even if you haven't hired someone else before. So as an employee, that's being taken out of your salary to be put into your savings. But as an employer, you're the one who's contributing to that person, to the person's TAP and SAP. So it's an additional cost for the company. So this is the simple way of calculating it. And then this is the almost complicated way of calculating it. So, okay. I'm realizing my screen hasn't changed. Is that okay with everyone? The screen, just checking with chat. Hmm. I'm looking at my OBS. The slide hasn't changed. Slideshow. Checking with chat. Has the screen changed for you? In my OBS, it hasn't changed. Wah, Kalau ada silap ni pasal buat dari awal ni. Huh. Okay, so did it crash? Okay. Did my screen change kah? Tak. Huh, okay, so my screen hasn't changed. No one said anything. Let me try to fix that. Okay. Huh. Huh. Sekejap Okay, so let me try that. Huh. Okay, why does it not change? Let me change the source. Okay, baru ni ada masalah. This. Okay. My screen didn't change. My slideshow screen didn't change. So, ada. Baru aku notice. Tam, 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 tam. Well, huh, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna just create a new. Yeah, it's just cleared up. Sekejap let me add a new source. Window capture. Yeah, that's only for the nah, window, not window. I want screen capture. Screen capture. Display capture. Display capture. Okay. Okay, prime monitor. Oh, okay. So my screen hasn't changed dari tadi kan? Aku cakap seorang-seorang. Well, cakap pulang tapi at least. Okay. Okay. Yeah, now it's changing Okay, so I think I'll just macam mana? Start there a while. Start there a while. So time 2:45. Okay. Kira tadi tu rehearsal lah. So sekarang edit. Baik, sige, sige. Ah. Okay, so let's begin again. So checking. Okay. Wrong na guru sa my screen today. Okay, so let's begin. 3, 2, 1, go. So welcome to Share LiveWIRE live stream, episode 9, Organization Plan and Managing Teams. Okay, So in this content, we'll be looking at introducing the series and the streamer, the content, the programs and activities, the upcoming content, and Q&A if you guys want to just chat. So basic introduction is the series itself. So it's a series of entrepreneurship topics. Snippets will be used for video content for online referral. So there will be links later. You can actually look at the playlist as well. So you'll be able to see our previous videos. And the topic shared is a summary of some of our workshop contents. I'll be also sharing where those contents are, so you can, if you're interested, sign up with those workshops. And I'll try to have some discussion and Q&A between the main topics. If you have any questions, just ask. So you may also share the live link or the link later with any of your friends and family who might be interested in this topic. So this is the planned content. So we actually missed out August, but we'll just catch up what we can. So now it's episode 9 in October. The topic is organization and managing teams. Again, welcome. My name is Muhammad Tudun bin Hajasan alias Muhammad Hasbullah Bobby. Just call me Bobby. I'm an entrepreneur. I am also an endurance athlete. I love business, IT, and science, and I love to share what I know. And in terms of the topic, I have had a few businesses where I had to manage people under me. Even employed under LiveWIRE, I am organizing or managing people under me as well, especially for small projects. Okay, so this is the main content that I'll be sharing. So again, the main content is organization plan and managing teams, and what I'll be sharing is the organization plan, mostly from our business plan content, and then hiring process. Not too detailed. If you want to have more information on that, you can probably Google or look into YouTube in other videos. But I'll be highlighting mostly on the local aspects of hiring in Brunei. And then finally, the leadership and empowering your team. This is from our managing your team masterclass and a bit from our leadership camp. And at the end there, we'll be sharing the resources of the other workshops or other resources that you can look into. So starting off, this is the organization plan again from business plans, or it could be from your SOP or standard operating procedures. So why you want to have an organization strategy is to identify who is working with you, who you need in order to make the business a success, what qualified personnel you need, and what budget you have for your employees, and how you will compensate your employees. So in general, the content of the organization section in the business plan, you need an organization chart as shown in the right side, and then roles and responsibilities to describe what are their roles, and then management gaps to identify what you have and what you don't have, and what you need to bridge that gap. And of course, there's the monthly or annual personnel costs. Again, part of managing is managing a business is you want to look into your costs of having all those people, and then include CV or biodata in the appendix. This adds to the credibility of your business, and this is also important when you're applying tenders. So it shows how credible the people are in your business, which adds to the credibility of your company. So ideal organization chart. In general, this can be a lot wider, but the names can be made up as long as people understand. Here we use managing director. It could be just manager. It could be president. It could be CEO. Whatever it is in your organization. And usually on the second part is the assistant director. Again, could be assistant manager. Or again, whatever position that assists with the boss. And then below is the departments slash people under them. So here we have administration and finance. So the the administration can be separate from the finance as well. Again, depends on how you run your business. And then there's the operations, the day-to-day operations of the business, who you need in there, marketing, advertising, can include sales as well, and this can also branch out into different departments on its own. So again, the bigger the company, usually the more branches you'll have. And then finally, research and development. So you'll need this to develop your business, to improve your business. If you don't have this, your business might stagnate and they won't move much at all. In Brunei, I know a few job positions specifically called business development officers. So their task is to research on the business opportunities in Brunei. And then here we have an example. So for a small business, like even a food stall business, you should have your own organization chart, even if it's a small business. This is despite usually most businesses are like sole proprietors, sole owners, sole managers, maybe one man show. It's still highly recommended to have an organization chart because you can't always do it all by yourself forever. So at some point, you might want to hire someone else. So you look into the tasks involved and who you can outsource it to, or who you can delegate these tasks to. So in this case, for a food stall, you are the owner or the manager. You can have cooks, you have the griller. So again, depending on your organization chart, depending on your activities. Here we have the roles and responsibilities. So again, on the roles, what are the job position, and then responsibilities, their job description, what are the tasks that they need to do, qualifications, how are they qualified to get that job, and what skills that they have in order to get that job. And then finally, salary. There's a salary scale. So this can also be used as an advertising for the company. So when you have, especially when you're starting off a business, you can actually advertise this whole table. So it's really up to you, up to your expectations. So the roles, again, you can name whatever you want. Responsibilities, you need to describe what are the roles, what they need to do. So especially if someone applies for the job, they know what they're applying for, they know what they need to do. So the perfect person will be like, oh, this is what I want to do. So it'll be nice if it fits with what they really want to do in life. The qualification certifications depends on the person, depends on the company. So what your expectations. In general, most people will look into certifications, so the pieces of paper that certifies that they are qualified to do certain things. But in most cases, especially in the private sector, they'll be looking in the work experience. It's nice if you can hire someone certified, but it's even better if you have someone who's qualified, especially with work experience, because in some cases, it's the person with the work experience that can contribute more to the company. And then the salary really up to you. You can base it on the market rate, or you can base it on your capacity or capability. How much are you willing to pay your staff? Depends on your budget. So again, really up to you. But in this case, in this example, is the food stall. So you can have the manager owner who does operations, marketing, maybe even administration. While the cook and the grill generally receives order, prepares the food, receives cash, and interacts with the customers. In terms of qualification, again, simple small business, you don't actually have to have higher qualifications, but again, depending on the owners, especially if you're not the manager, you're looking for someone who is qualified to manage your business, you might be looking at least for someone who has education in business. So in general, there's either A-level business studies or national diploma in business. Again, really up to you. And the salary, again, depends on the company, the person, and depends on the capacity, the capability of the company to pay the salary. As much as you wanna keep people, okay, there's that balance. If you give too low, people will quit. If you give too high, you lose money. So it's up to the business to find that balance. And on this part here, noting that most self-employees or self-employed might give themselves their own salary, so that's highly recommended. You don't want to just get the profits of the company, because there's a danger of over withdrawing from the company, so you're taking more money than the company can afford. So it's best to give yourself a salary, especially useful if you're planning again for someone else to manage the business. So at least you can pay that amount to the manager and then you can let it go to, let it run by itself, let the manager run the business itself. So again, it's recommended to set a salary for the manager to replace you. So that's in terms of the roles and responsibilities. Here we have the organization chart and simple payroll cost calculations. So again, simple organization chart, the positions, the salary, and then you just total it all up, times by 12 for the whole year. And don't forget to add TAP and SAP, although this is being replaced by SPN, Scheme Pension Kebangsaan, SPK, sorry, SPK. So the rate is still the same. The terms and condition might differ. For people who are unsure of what this is, especially if you haven't worked for someone or you haven't hired someone. So as an employee in Brunei, if you're local, you are entitled or you're mandated to save 8.5% of your salary. So the company has to deduct the salary, at the same time contribute to that salary. So for example, Ali here, $1,000 in salary. Their salary is 1,000, but they'll only receive minus 85, so $915. But that 85 is contributed to their savings. And then the company has to add $85 to their savings. So for the employees, they'll receive less money than their salary. But for the companies, they're paying more than what they're paying for that person's salary. So for if you wanna get more information on TAP and SAP, you can look it up. And then this is monthly payroll cost calculation. This is a more complicated way of calculating the payroll costs, but a bit more realistic. So previously it's a more simplified one. Even in this case, it's actually simplified, but you might want to do this if you want to be a bit more realistic. So example, you only have one cook for the whole year, but at some point you want to give them a pay bump, a pay increase, or they might receive bonuses. So you might want to have the whole year calculated. And that's it on the organization plan part. So if you have any questions, just checking on chat. If you have anyone has any questions, again, while I'm speaking, if you have any questions, I'll just look into the chat. If you have any questions, and if I can answer, I will answer them. So just checking, no questions so far. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so next part is the hiring process. As mentioned, I'm not gonna go too deep on the details of human resource management. I'll just be highlighting on the specific aspects in Brunei. So in general, first part we want to look into is the human resource management and hiring process. So there's a lot of models on this. There's a 3-step life cycle. There's a 5-step life cycle. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a 7 step process. Just you can Google and you can see a lot of different variations of this. But in general, is recruitment, training, retention, and uh, termination, or in this case separation. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this. If you want, there's the link there. You can scan the QR code and you might be able to read more lah on the HR life cycle. But specifically that we're gonna look into is the recruitment process. So in the recruitment process, there are 3 main steps. First is the job analysis, making sure that you actually need that person to be hired. So looking at the plan, as we saw earlier, we have a plan, we have a business idea, we have operations plan, and then from there we look into the organization plan. So what are the positions that you need to be filled? So once that's analyzed, then we look into sourcing. How can we look for them? How do we search for them? I'll be mostly talking about this part later in the Brunei aspect. And finally, the screening and selection. So different people have different ways of screening and selection. That's really up to you, up to the HR managers in the organization. Okay, so finding employees in the Brunei context. So for Bruneians or Brunei companies, you can just advertise wherever, even in social media. But the most likely place that you're gonna get employees, because this is from the government, so this is technically necessary. As an employee. employer as well as employees. So for employees, job seekers, you can register here to look for jobs that are advertised by the government or by private sector, and uh, for employers, for companies, for organizations, you can also look for employees here. So for companies, you need to register to jobcenterbrunei.gov.bn. You log into your company profile, post your vacancies. So again, the roles, positions, qualifications, and salary. And then the Job Center Brunei will help you out. In general, they're quite helpful, and in sometimes some people might consider a bit too helpful, but the system has its own pros and cons. So just be patient with any of those issues, and hopefully you can get the right employees. On that note, again, as mentioned, if you're hiring locals, they are entitled to their TAP and SAP, or to be soon to be replaced by Scheme Pension Kebangsaan, or the SPK. Okay, another aspect of hiring employees in Brunei is a lot of companies tend to want to hire foreigners. In general, it's actually quite expensive to hire foreign workers. But the main reason why they want to do it is because foreign workers tend to be able to work for a lot cheaper than our locals. So in the long term, it's probably worth it to hire foreign workers. But the processes is actually quite challenging in Brunei. So as you can see here, the prior to applying for foreign worker license, you have to advertise on the Job Center Brunei to get local job seekers. So if you advertise and you still can't get the locals to apply, or there's no one qualified, then you can apply for the foreign worker license. So once you are given that what's called labor quota, then you can apply to get those foreign workers to work in Brunei. But then there's also another whole operations or whole processes to get them in. But again, keep in mind, hiring foreigners is a lot more expensive in initially, but cheaper in the long term. You can do a bit of calculation on that one. But in general, most foreigners will be willing to work for less than $300 to $400 Brunei per month. But most Bruneians would at least want 300 to 450 at least. Just to maintain their standard of living. But to bring in foreign workers can be I think I've heard up to $5,000 now. That's the biggest challenge there. Another advantage of hiring foreign workers is usually because they're foreigners, and they've been hired. Usually they'll stay longer. For local workers, usually they'll last for a very short time, but foreign workers are almost forced to continue working until their visa or their permit expires. So again, there's a lot of pros and cons on hiring locals versus foreign workers. I would generally recommend most startups to try to hire locals if it's possible. If not, then what can you do? But it should be relatively easier to hire locals than to hire foreigners. Yeah, and in addition, guide to employment laws in Brunei. So once you're hiring, again, specifically, well, it applies to foreign and local workers. So you can find out more about the labor laws in Brunei. I'll give here a link to the labor department of the government. Okay, and there's a lot to read through, so you can scan the QR code and read more. But from that website itself, they also have produced, I think, two brochures, which I'll share here. So a few general guidelines if you're hiring in Brunei. So this is the employment guideline for working hours and payment of salary in the private sector. So again, so this is from the brochure. So this is actually the front page and the back page. So if you want to find out more info, there's the link there at buruh.gov.bn. So I'll come back to this slide once I read the first part, the official first part of the brochure. Here it states the working hours. So for non-shift workers, for shift workers, for overtime, the basic rate, the rest days. So in general, there must be one rest day per per week, and then every employee is entitled to the public holidays, and the salary period must not exceed 1 month. And in some cases, now I'm going to go to the back page, is the salary deduction. So salary deductions are not allowed except in the following cases. So you can see the list. Example is being absent from work, damage or lost property of the company, and so on. So there are terms and conditions, when, where, or how in terms of the salary. Now, another part is similar and overlapping as well. This is on the working hours and leave entitlement in the private sector. So again, I'll do the same. I'll read the first part if of the brochure. Again, if you want to read out for yourself, you can either pause, or if you want to have a copy of it, you can scan the QR code and get the copy yourself. So in this case, payment of salary, as mentioned earlier, same as the previous brochure, is not to exceed 1 month, and must be paid within 7 days at the end of the salary period. Working hours, again, non-shift and shift workers. Overtime, same thing, public holidays and rest days. But here is specific different to this one is the annual leave, sick leave, and maternity leave. So this is the main difference from the previous brochures. So again, for more details, there's the first one that I shared earlier. These are just the basic information, but the detailed information is in this document. If you want the whole details, but the brochures is just the summary of all this information. Okay, I think that's the end of the hiring process in Brunei. Just checking if anyone have any questions. So we don't. Okay. Going to the last part of managing your team. So this is on team management and leadership as well. And this is highly copy pasted from our masterclass. But in our masterclass, we will have activities as well, a bit more details. I've deleted a few slides just to make it simpler. Okay, so in the main context, empowering your team, situational leadership, understanding people's personalities, and strategies for feedback. First part is empowering your team. So in an organization, you want to empower your team. Why? In general, if you empower your team, it will increase your productivity, the company's productivities. It will have a more proactive employees, will where employees will have the initiative of doing it first, even without being asked to, and it will have greater happiness, and they will last longer in the company, and they will grow within the company as well. Founders in general struggle as their startup grows, and they have to become managers. You can look into the history of a lot of startups like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, where they are part of the company, they're workers in the company, they do stuff as well, but at some point they have to be the managers, and they need to learn to delegate. So they have to let others do as well. Even Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, they were programmers themselves, but at some point they allow other people to program while they do the management and the marketing or whatever else is necessary. So why delegate in an organization? You need to leverage expertise. So if you can hire someone else who's smarter, who's more skilled than you, and then they'll be more productive than you yourself. Or if they're not that better than you, then you can actually teach them. So then you can teach someone who's new in the company, and then give them more skills. Then they can do what you do, and probably not 100%, but they can do good enough. And then once you allow them to do the task that you used to do, it allows yourself to think about the big picture, allows yourself time and energy to focus on other things, especially to grow the business. In general, a lot of people have problems delegating. I admit I myself have issues with delegating. We often get pushed to under delegate and over control. This is mostly because we're scared of the risk. By delegating, we lose control, and by losing control, it's not going to be 100% of exactly what we want. We tend to avoid it. especially for myself. I admit that's one of my issues, but I'm learning to let go of some responsibilities and allow others to do it for me. So it allows me to do other stuff as well. Okay, so in terms of delegation, it requires a bit of leadership, and one of the leadership strategies is called situational leadership. So again, you can find out more about situation leadership by yourself. But in general, it's adapting your leadership approach to specific situations and people. The focus on the leader is to modify the behavior, depending on the direct reports, the people directly under them. And there are four main leadership approaches. So here we see directing, including, supporting, and empowering and delegating. So those four main approaches. So let's look into the growth of a person, of an employee in the organization. So as you can see here in the chart, there's a chart of confidence and competence. So a new person who works in a company, they usually have low confidence and low competence. So in their case, usually you can see this with a lot of interns or attachment students. They have no idea what to do. So in general, we have to do a lot of hand holding. We have to teach them a lot of stuff, even simple things like photocopying. So we have to tell them, we have to teach them, we have to direct them. But after a while, an employee, usually after a few months or even a year, they'll be a bit more confident and they have high confidence and high competence. So in general, we can just let them do what we can tell them what to do, and then they'll just do it on their own, and it's usually good enough. But sometimes once they reach a certain level, they're given a bit more responsibilities. So sometimes, especially with new responsibilities, they need some support. So their confidence might reduce, while their competence is actually has increased. But usually because of the responsibilities being increased, or their tasks being increased as well, they need a bit of support to do what they need to do. And eventually, once they are on a certain level, their confidence and competence are high again. And in general, we just give them the autonomy of managing the whole task by themselves. So these are the four main levels of the employees. And in general, what we can do to help them. So again, in the beginning is low confidence and low competence. Usually we have to direct them, we have to teach them, and then at some point they will grow. Sometimes they are overconfident, but sometimes they are unable to, so we need to include them. We have to teach them a bit, train them a bit more. And then usually once they're given a bit more responsibilities, then we need to give them a bit of support. The competence is high, but the confidence might be lacking, especially if they're doing something new as well. And then finally, once they know everything about the business, about the organizations, they know everything, not everything, but enough to help manage the business. So we can just let them go. And sometimes you can promote them to manage that whole department in itself. Okay, so the do's and don'ts when empowering your team. So empower those who demonstrate the capacity to handle responsibility. Create a learning environment in which people are encouraged to grow their skills. So don't be angry at someone who can't do the right thing. Again, keep in mind they're still new, so allow them to make mistakes so that they can learn, and give people autonomy over the tasks and resources. So let them do what they need to do. Maybe they even might surprise you of their skills. And what you shouldn't do is micromanage and control all the aspects of your team's work. So micromanage is when you actually, it's almost like you have to tell them every step of the way. So it will also, there's two parts of this. This will reduce the confidence of the employees, and it will also take up your time. So try to avoid micromanaging. Revert back to old habits during stressful times. This happens to me myself as well. So when it's a stressful time, when it's a time crunch, you know that you can do it better, you can do it faster. So you tend to overtake. I tend to overtake the project again. But give them time, allow them to make mistakes, allow them to try to make up for the time, or else how would they learn? And try not to second guess other decisions and ideas unless absolutely necessary. So they might not be doing it the way that you want to, the way that you're used to. So let them do what they think that they can do. Again, they might surprise you. They might even be doing it better. Maybe there's a new methodology that works better. So allow them to try out their ideas. So if you stop them, then they will lack confidence, and they'll probably stop sharing their ideas with you. So again, don't second guess, don't hold them back. Okay, so next is feedback strategies. So I think this is almost the end. So feedback strategies. So giving feedback to your employees or to your teams. So there's a difference between feedback and coaching. There's nothing wrong or right about one or the other. It's about what results that you want to have. So feedback is usually based on past behavior, what you can do to improve. Coaching focuses on what you want to achieve, and then focuses on what they can do to achieve it. So again, feedback is more evaluating what they've done, what they can do to improve, while coaching focuses on what they can do to improve. In feedback, it's usually telling or advising, so telling people, oh, you should do this. While coaching is usually asking them what they think they can, so allowing them to think. If they can't, then you can provide them with some paths. But try to avoid coaching. In coaching, you want to avoid telling people what to do. Uh, and on feedback, the data, you need to provide the data to make someone aware of their behavior and impact. Again, looking at the past behavior. But in coaching, you use the data to help release potential in a way that works best for the individual and the organization. So feedback is a part of coaching, but coaching is a bit more giving the autonomy to the person receiving that feedback. Okay, so the key strategies for feedback, these are the four strategies. So remember the core structure, find your voice, but vary your style. Good feedback can be done quickly. It doesn't have to be a long 1 hour discussion. And you need to balance the positive and constructive feedback. So the first part is the core structure of the key strategies. So in general, these are the four steps. So observation, effect, pause, and suggestion. So observation, again, this is more of the evaluating part. So you share what you notice with that person, whether it's good or bad, and then what's the effect or the impact of that person's action or behavior, whether it's again good or bad. And then you pause or inquire that person if they realize it. If they don't, then you need to share what you've seen. If they don't, if they do, that's good. Okay, and finally, you can make a suggestion, especially if they have again they did a mistake. So you can suggest an improvement. Or you can inquire what they can do for improvement. But in general, for something positive, is we rarely suggest anything. Maybe if it's something good, then something that they can do better. So that's the main core structure of feedback. You can use any other structure. There's also another one I like is called open the front door. So observation, thoughts, feelings, and desire. So the basic structure is also the same. Starts with observation, and the last one is the desire for improvement. Then find your voice and vary your style. So depends on uh, both sides on your style. But for the leader slash coach, is usually you have to identify the person's personality. So there's a lot of personality traits. But in this case, you have intellectual person, rational person, intuitive person, and instinctive person. So if someone's intellectual or rational, they look at logic, while intuitive and instinctive, they look at emotions. They look at well, the instinct. So you have to identify the person's personality before you can provide them their feedback. Because if you provide factual data to someone who's instinctive, they won't get it as much. Another way of looking at people's personality is this, the ISC. So it's, similar to the previous one. So there's a dominating personality, influential personality, stabilizing personality, and cautious personality. So again, this is something similar as well. And if you want to find out more about personality profiles, again, you can easily search. There's a lot of them. So the most common one is the Myers-Briggs personality test and this test, the DISC test. Uh, so some people find it intuitive understanding people's personality. So especially if you tend to be social, but a person who's introverted can actually learn and take advantage of this as well. Okay, so again, once you understand the person's personality, then you can use a specific technique to approach that person, to influence that person, to persuade that person. So you have to understand who you're talking to. Okay, and then on this third part, delivering rapid feedback. So you don't have to spend a long time on providing feedback. So the shorter the time, again, there's a balance. The more that you can do. You don't have to spend too much. Unfortunately, we don't do it as much as we should. Sometimes for some people, we forget to give it. We see something that we like, but we forget to give it. And in some cases, if we see something we don't like, but we forget to mention it, or we shy away. Again, depends on the person's personality. But highly recommend whatever feedback you can, just provide it. Because every feedback is important. It is helpful, especially after a specific incident. As soon as something happens, so you wanna give the negative or positive reinforcement. So if they did something good, you wanna give them feedback so that they can continue to repeat it. But if something bad or something that can be improved, then they can try to avoid it as much as possible. But as mentioned earlier, the format should suit that other person. Sometimes instantly, sometimes give it a bit of delay. But I would say don't be too much delay, or else they wouldn't even remember what they did. And then last, watch out for the three pitfalls. So don't replace with longer feedback sessions. Don't make it overwhelming, so not too much information. And above all, control your emotions while giving feedback, because some people will be reactive. If you're angry at providing the feedback, the other person will be angry as well, and they'll be defensive, and they wouldn't even want to listen. On providing feedback, there's a recommendation here from the 1 minute manager. There's a 1 minute goals, 1 minute praisings, and 1 minute reprimands. The last two is something that we're gonna look into briefly. Delivering rapid feedback, positive. So the structure again is almost the same, whether it's positive or negative. So for the positive, you tell them that you're gonna be providing them feedback, praise them immediately, and tell people what they did right. Be specific, what you like, what they did, the specific action if possible, and tell people how good you feel, the impact that they have, that you have, or what they had on you, and on organization and anyone else. And if you want, you can stop for a moment to let them feel, to them, let them absorb, let them appreciate that moment, and of course encourage them to do more of the same. So again, what they did right, so tell them to do more, and make it clear that you support their success in the organization. Again, the impact that it has on the organization. On the other hand, the 1 minute sanction or reprimands works well. Again, you tell them that you're going to give them feedback. Do it immediately. Again, if someone does something wrong, tell them as soon as possible so that they remember what they did and they can fix it as soon as possible. And if you can, be specific so that they can do something about it. If you're too general and they don't know what exactly they can do to correct it, then they can't improve on it. So tell people how you feel, what's the impact when they did that wrong thing. Stop for a few seconds of uncomfortable silence to let them feel how you feel. So again, once you shared how you feel, let the moment sink in. So again, they understand the impact, especially this emotional impact that you had, that they had on you. And then let them know you're honestly on their side, regardless of what's the bad thing that they did. That you're telling them this because you want them to improve. And again, reminding them how much value that they actually have for the company. And then reaffirm that you think well of them, but not on their performance in this situation. In general, they're good. It's just in this small instance that they didn't do so well. And once the reprimand is over, it's over. So part ways, if possible, positively. So one last part is the balance positive and constructive feedback. In an organization called Toastmasters, usually they would recommend 2 to 1. So you have two positive feedbacks and in combination with one negative feedback or one recommendations for improvement. But in this case, a study has shown it's 6 to 1. I really feel that it's a bit too much. Then you will have to talk too much. But in general, what's important is more positive feedback than negative feedback. If you just tell just the negative feedback to someone, then they'll feel negatively about themselves. But if you tell them something positive and then negative and then positive, then they know that they're being appreciated, and at least they accept that not 100% in most cases, but at least they'll be more likely to accept that negative feedback. So at least when you show that you see something positive, that they can see that you see what's good in them. And when they have something negative, then when they have something negative that you pointed out, at least they will look into it. Because again, when people are just given negative, they'll just become defensive. So uh, try again try not to just focus on the negative. Focus on the positive as well. Don't just make it a laundry list of constructive feedback, like trying to force yourself to find more positive feedback. Just the positive feedback that you can provide. And then most importantly, try to motivate them as well. So again, more positive than negative. Just pinpoint that negative that they can improve. Okay, so basically we're done on the content of the organization and managing teams. So I'll share with a few resources on where you can find out more. So specifically in LiveWire, we have a lot of workshops, but specifically in relation to this, we have bright ideas. We have a specific part on registration and permits. So we talk more on the employment process in Brunei. And then we have the business plan series and the visioning workshop where we talk more in detail. And also we have a few activities on the organization, the chart, the structure, the planning, the cost involved. And then we have the masterclass managing teams. So we have a few activities to highlight the importance of um, delegating and on providing feedbacks. And of course, we have the leadership camp. Understanding leadership, how to improve yourself, how to understand other people, and so that you can manage yourself, and lead others. So that's our basic workshops. Okay, so I'll leave for the Q&A, leave some space for the Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please ask. I will be looking into the chat. But while waiting for people to share their questions in chat, okay, just checking who is. Okay, can't see the chat list. Okay, so if anyone have any questions, just ask. While I share a bit more details on the resources I just shared. So again, we're Shell LiveWire, Shell LiveWire Brunei, and we have several programs that help entrepreneurship development in Brunei. And the topics related to what we just talked about is one is Bright Ideas. So it's a 2-day basic entrepreneurship workshop. So one part is we were talking about registration and permits and licenses. So the employment processes that you need to be aware of, especially if you're starting a business and hiring other people. Then business plan series. This is actually to help people write up a business plan. And usually is to get investors or bankers to provide cash, but it's also useful for standard operating procedures, so you know what you need to do and who you need to get in order to get that business done. So again, more on the organizations on this one. And then vision workshop is almost the same as business plan series, but this is more for non-profits or for organizations. But we also have the organization part. I think one additional part on this is on election processes. So if you're in part of an NGO or non-profit, there's also that electing the committee members or the steering committee members. And then mentioned earlier was the leadership camp. So this is actually a 3 days 2 nights program for our alumni who has gone through the other programs. Specifically, we want this for the people who are starting or organizing their own business. So you can consider this as a team building and leadership and self development program. Okay. In addition, I'll share as well the business awards. So if you're looking into setting up a business, looking for funding, this is one way that LiveWire can help. So if you join and you submit your plan, you might be shortlisted to present and you might win some cash prizes. Unfortunately, at this point, we are going through the final phases. So the next business awards will be next year. So if you're interested, please join that. Just sharing on iCashflow.bn. So this is our cash flow management app for locals. I think in respect to employee management, you need to keep track of how much you pay people, how much you pay your employees. That's another important thing, especially for the TAP and SCP and paying salaries. Some people might take legal action if you don't pay, but at least if you keep track your finances, you keep track of paying them, then you cover your backs. So if you're interested to use the iCashflow.bn, you can download it from either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Okay, and if you want to find out more about LiveWire on all the programs and maybe even the successful entrepreneurs the from LiveWire, you can look into this ebook. So I think we covered 20 entrepreneurs, so you can learn more about the business and how they progress through the years. And basically, that is it. So if you want to find out more about LiveWire, you can drop by our office, but you don't have to. You can just check on our website, livewirebrunei.com, for any future programs and activities. Or you can just follow our social media on Instagram and Facebook, LiveWire Brunei. Just look us up and don't forget to check for notifications. Similarly to this YouTube live video. So once we start a live video, then you will be informed of when we have that live video. In case of the Instagram, then when we have a new course, a new program upcoming, we'll be advertising there as well. So you want to keep up, just check out our Instagram. So just sharing the final part. So we've just done organization and managing teams. So next up is the business financial planning and management. So like basic finances. I'm not gonna teach like double entry bookkeeping, but basic knowledge that you need to know in order to create a business plan in terms of financial planning and management. So like the iCashflow app initially that I was sharing. Okay, so can find out more about that then. And finally, what's left is I think I can probably combine this presentation and pitching and ICT for business. So I'm thinking of combining it so that we can catch up on the content. So we'll see what we do in December. Okay. So upcoming next LiveWire YouTube Live is business financial planning and management. Okay. So no questions. Okay. Okay. So if no questions, I'm gonna give a few minutes. If anyone has any questions, just ask. If anyone has any questions. Okay, just checking. Hmm. Checking questions. Awkward moments of silence. Hmm. That's interesting. From OBS, I can only see one, but while I'm looking at my uh, mobile device, I see four. Hmm. Okay, so I'm just gonna give 1 minute. I think there's a 30-second delay of the uh 30-second delay with the stream. So I'm just gonna allow for 1 minute timer for the okay. So where can I put the timer? Timer. Oh, that's where I put the timer. Copy. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds before I end the session. Okay. What? Where's the starting soon? Did I just end? Started 1 hour ago. Okay, still there. But why am I live? Okay, this okay. So now I'm back. Oh, because I was looking in the okay. This the different scene to copy paste the timer. Okay, so time's up. If no one else have any questions, thank you very much for viewing live. But if you're watching recorded, that's fine as well. I hope the session is impactful and helpful to you. Oh, didn't put the starting part. Okay, I think I'm just gonna hide that. Okay, so should have changed the wording for that. Okay, so again, thank you very much. Okay, goodbye. Dun dun dun. Okay, where's ending? I prefer to give a few seconds delay because sometimes the recording stops before. Was it after? Yeah, before I actually ended. Huh, there's only less than 0.01 lag. Okay. Okay, final goodbye.